Next thing I wondered about, the Bolshoi Theatre is undergoing some rather extensive restoration in places, including some things with the stage. I think that's nearing completion now. I wondered if, I guess, something you should expect to go back to when you go back to first playing in the hall?
First of all, Russia is the country where you're never sure. So they say that the restoration will be over in October.
Mm-hmm.
And but actually, have you been to the old building? Because I haven't been right now. Also, so we haven't visited, so we don't know. But they promise that it will be great. But you never know whether it will be this way or other way. But of course, if talking seriously, of course the theater is at least Bolshoi theater in comparison with symphony orchestra, because in symphony orchestra they come to the rehearsal, make a rehearsal, and then leave. In theater, it's slightly different way because you spend much more time in the theater, and it becomes, in a way, it becomes your home or your second home.
Yeah.
So you are very, and especially the old building that we left like 70 years ago, something. It was, when for 100 years nothing changes inside, or just some cosmetical changes. The walls have a lot to, it's some sort of energy that keeps in the walls, and you feel it. So, and of course many people feel very in a special way for this building, but now it will be a completely different because they changed everything. Inside will be everything new. So we hope that there will be a good acoustics and a good, it will be convenient for both for artists and for audience.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yes, I read that they're changing the size of the stage and trying to return it to some of the original acoustics. Are you looking forward to this?
That's right,
or?
but actually, of course, you don't know what kind of acoustics there were 100 years ago. So we hope that I think some German company does the acoustics things, but again, you never know when it comes to Russia. You never know how well people who do the real job, how well they do what they are told to do.
Yeah.
So the builders, or how do you call it? The guys who really put the stones together. So hopefully it will be okay.
Now, this is your chance then, the audience, to ask our three guests any questions you might have before they rush off and get ready for what hopes to be an amazing concert tonight. So please, any questions you have.
How do you find touring when it's got two Russian guests?
In general,
Not very much, I suppose.
well, touring is always good because you see new places, meet new people, and sometimes it can be really good because sometimes you get into the bus in the morning, then ride like 4 or 5 hours, then you get to the hotel, then you have 1 hour, then you get to the stage, have a rehearsal, then have concert, then have a night, and then you again get into the bus. So that's something that's not really. This exactly tour is a little bit better because we have sometimes we have like 4 or 5 days in one city, so the logistics is more. It's better than it could be.
Yeah.
So, but still, it's sometimes. Of course, it's better when you, because now we have symphony tour, and when you tour with the theater can go every day to a new city. So theater comes to like one city, and we stay there for like 2 weeks. So this is much better, of course.
So having this schedule, we have no possibility to see something, to visit some interesting places. You see, you have very tough schedule.
You mentioned recruits to the orchestra. How often do you have a change in the staff in the orchestra?
It depends. Depends on the situation because usually the average age is, I mean, like I would say like 5 years ago we've headed through, recruited many new new members, because some people get to the, I mean they get old and stop working, but usually it happens like I think like a generation, maybe 20 years or something, because in general of course it's much better when you have a stable crew that know each other, know how to play with each other. So but sometimes people just leave for a better job, and then we have to recruit a new person. So I mean, it's not really often. It's at least I think that it is better not to change too often.
Is it very competitive for young musicians to get into the orchestra?
I think it is, especially in the last years, because there was a period when the salary was not really good, so people preferred to go to some other places. I mean, to some other orchestras. Right now we have slightly better situation. So again, we've got in the past year I think we had 2 auditions, and we had in general I think we had like 150 or 200 people that came for many instruments, not for one. So it's pretty. I think right now it's a nice and steady job.
In Soviet period, salary in Bolshoi was very good, twice more than for musicians in other orchestra. So auditions were rather cruel, and a lot of people came to play and to try to have this work. Then perestroika and 19th was a very difficult period. Now it's getting better.
Do you in essence have more than one orchestra? Are there times when the opera house has an orchestra within it, and there's an orchestra touring, or I mean, you know, does that sort of, does it intermingle?
We have like 300 people in the orchestra. So when we're right now it's like 100 people on tour, and 200 are still in Moscow. So it's fine.
We have not only one place to play. So now we'll have 2 stages. New stage and the old one. And sometimes we play in Kremlin. So everybody mixed and combined in different way. We have now 2 different orchestra, as for example Mariinsky with Gergiev had opera symphonic and ballet orchestra.
Yes, here we have mixed things. From you never know what you're going to play tomorrow.
Now, the last thing I wanted to ask the 2 of you before you go off and get ready is it seems quite a number of the players in the orchestra also teach the Moscow Conservatoire. And it seems perhaps ideal that Eugene Onegin, as we've said already, was first performed with pupils of the same conservatoire. So I wondered what your thoughts are on the education of younger musicians now, and whether there are any kind of projects between the orchestra and the conservatoires at the moment.
I wish there were such projects, but actually music education in Russia and music education in Europe or US is different, because our music education is aimed to, I mean it was so in the Soviet times, and right now it's just nobody tried to change it, is aimed to prepare a soloist. And chamber music and orchestra playing is less important. That's why when people, young people get to the orchestra, they have to, many of them think of themselves as of Beth Paganini, who was, because he was playing Beth and they made him to play in the orchestra, though he wanted to play solo.
Yeah.
But and also there, to my mind, there's a lot of problems right now in Russian musical education. There are still many talented people, anyway. So when people get to some real job in the orchestra or anyway, they get used to it, of course.
Yeah.
But answering on your question, unfortunately, conservatory doesn't, or any other education venue in Moscow or in Russia, they don't have direct connections with any orchestra. So, but like in Chicago, I think they have Chicago Civic. I think the orchestra that makes younger people to play to know the tradition of the Chicago Symphony, and then some of them get into symphony orchestra. In our case, it's not that way, unfortunately.
Well, in Soviet times, when Soviet Union was a very closed system, there were a lot of famous musicians, great teachers inside, and they couldn't get abroad for work, and so they teach in Moscow Conservatory, and they played in Bolshoi. And that's one of the reasons that we had a great string school, great violin school, great piano school, yeah. And now when doors are open, a lot of very good professionals are all over the world, both teachers and players. So my colleague with whom I began my work, they worked all over the world. One of them is concertmaster of London Symphony, the other BBC Philharmonic in London. Yeah, they teach in the Menuhin School. So all over the world, in Japan, in Europe. Of course, it's
Lower
studying lower because they have no enough time for teaching in Moscow.
Join us again for the new season of the International Concert Series in October. In the meantime, watch out for previews of next year's lineup. For more information, please see our website www.venuecymru.co.uk. Thank you for listening.